crazy till you knock me off my feet. You raise my pulse.
NCS라고 해서 노 카피라이트성이 여러분부터 주식
The chair makes a careful sound against the wooden floor. Sunlight angled through the glass like it's been here before. Dust drifting in the quiet air, slow and unafraid. Books stacked in deliberate piles of choices I have made. The clock above the far wall moves without display. No one rushing anyone to finish or to say. The turning of a single page feels louder than a crowd in this cathedral made of thought, where silence is allowed. Window seat, third floor, where time expands and bends. No notifications calling, no message that demands, just paragraphs unfolding in steady, patient streams. A room built out of language and unannounced dreams. The piano traces softer lines, clear but understated. Brushes tap a thoughtful beat, measured, uninflated. The bass line hums beneath it, low and anchored deep, like concentration settling where restless minds won't sleep. I underline a sentence that seems to know my name, fold the corner carefully without a trace of shame. There's comfort in the margins, in notes beside the text, in writing small reflections on what might happen next. I used to think that focus required force and strain, that discipline was rigid and tethered tight with chain. But here it feels much different, like leaning into flow, attention like a river with somewhere real to go. Window seat, third floor, light warming up my hands, ideas forming quietly without loud demands. There's freedom in absorption, in letting meaning stay, in trust and slow accumulation to shape another day. Stay with it, line by line. You're right here, you're right here. A student at the corner taps a pencil twice. An older man turns pages in measured, careful slice. We share this open quiet without a single word, connected by intention, more felt than heard. Outside the branches sway, casting shadows thin. The world continues moving while I am moving in, not hiding from the motion, not lost inside retreat, just choosing deeper currents over constant heat. Oh, window seat, third floor, the chapter almost done. Not racing to the ending, not chasing after one, just letting understanding arrive in its own time, because insight grows in silence more than in a climb. One more page, you're not behind. I close the book with steady hands, look out at passing sky. There's clarity in slowing down, instead of asking why. The chair makes that same careful sound as I begin to stand, carrying quiet knowledge I didn't have planned. I press the elevator button twice, though once would be enough. My reflection in the metal door looks calm but slightly flushed. The lobby hums with early steps, shoes against the floor, names exchanged in careful tones near a glass and wooden door. I smooth the edges of my sleeve, breathe slow and even near, not trying to be someone else, just standing present there. The badge they hand me feels brand new, cool against my palm, a small square sign that says begin, measured, grounded, calm. I've imagined rooms like this before, and late and quiet nights wondered if my voice would shake under office lights. But now the moment isn't sharp or bigger than my frame. It feels like space I've grown toward, not something wild to take.
아, 들립니까? 반갑습니다. 잘 들릴 거라 생각합니다. 그쵸? 와, 사람 구하는 게 꽤 어렵나? 쉽지 않네. 아무도 없나? 이럴 수가 있나? 이럴 수가 있나? 어디 한 명도 없지? 사람이 많아도 파티 구하기가 힘드네.
maybe hope, maybe memory, maybe unspoken plans. If one note reaches where she sits and settles in her day, then every mile I walked away was leading to this way. The drums brush lightly under me, bass steady at my side, guitar like a whispering friend with nothing left to hide. I don't need fireworks tonight or lights that blind the room, just this circle of open space where melodies can bloom. There were years I shaped my tone to fit what others heard, sanding down the edges, sharp polishing every word. But truth has texture deep and real, it doesn't have to shine, it carries warmth in every line, because the voice is mine. The mic is close against my lips, I feel the pulse inside, each phrase a living testament.
사용을 시작합니다.
Every word. But truth has texture deep and real, it doesn't have to shine, it carries warmth in every line, because the voice is mine. The mic is close against my lips, I feel the pulse inside, each phrase a living testament to why I never lied. I sing about the roads I chose, the ones I let pass by, about the courage found in staying when it was easier to fly. And as the final chorus lifts, not louder, just more sure, I know I stand in fuller skin, unedited and pure. The curtain falls without a rush, applause, a rising tide, but deeper than the clapping hands is peace I feel inside. I didn't come to chase a throne or claim what once was bright, I came to stand and let it ring. This is my voice tonight. This is my voice tonight.
You asked me if this train was right for heading out of town. Ticket folded in your hand, slight worry and a frown. I checked the board above us, watched the numbers blink, said yeah you're good and gave a nod. Before I stopped to think, the station there was humming with luggage, wheels and calls. Announcements drifting overhead off concrete, steel and walls. People moving forward like chapters being turned. Strangers passing strangers with no time to be concerned. 5 minutes on platform 3, that's all it ever was. No history, no afterthought, no complicated cuts. Just two lives intersecting in a narrow stretch of space. A brief and simple kindness in a busy passing place. A piano keeps it gentle, a soft frontal line. Brushes barely tapping like footsteps out of time. The bass line hums below us, low and easy going, like there's something steady even in not knowing. You said you hadn't traveled alone this far before, that city's felt much louder than the ones you knew before. I smiled and told a story of getting lost once too, and how the wrong direction led somewhere I outgrew. You laughed a little lighter, the tension in your face softened into something less guarded, more at ease. No promises exchanged, no numbers saved away. Just understanding shared before you went your way. 5 minutes on platform 3 can shift a crowded day. A single steady sentence can keep the fear at bay. It doesn't take forever to offer someone space. Sometimes the smallest moment leaves the longest trace. You'll be alright, trust your steps, they know the way. The train lights grew brighter, a silver rolling line, doors opening in rhythm, right on borrowed time. You lifted up your suitcase, took one steady breath, looked back just for a second, like marking what we'd met. I raised a hand in farewell, no grand emotional scene, just gratitude unfolding for what that pause had been. A reminder in the middle of schedules and of speed, that people cross your orbit right when you most need. 5 minutes on platform 3, then the whistle and the glide. Your reflection in the window carried to the other side. The crowd resumed its motion like nothing much had changed, but something in my chest felt quietly rearranged. Safe travels wherever you're going. I stayed a little longer, watching rails grow still, thinking how connection doesn't always need a build. Some moments don't require a future or a plan, they just exist to prove how gentle life can stand. 5 minutes on platform 3, that's all it had to be. A small and honest meeting between you and me. No headline, no encore, no story to retrieve it, just warmth inside a fleeting moment we could leave. Concrete pillars numbered white, echo in the dark. Headlights sweep across the wall, then slowly lose their spark. I shift to park and turn the key, engine winding down, vibration fading from the wheel into underground. Air inside the cabin, warmer than outside. Dashboard glowing steady in a muted tide. Radio still whispering a voice I barely hear. Then silence settles evenly when I switch the gear. Engine off, lights fade, breathing in the pause. No one knocking on the glass, no urgent cause, just the tick of cooling metal under dimming hue. A pocket carved from motion where I can sift what's true. The piano lays in lower tones, calm and spaced apart. Brushes tap a gentle pulse like a slowing heart. The bass line hums beneath it, deep and grounded, slow. A quiet reassurance that I don't have to go. I sit with hands on steering wheel, but but not to steer away. Just feeling how the earlier rush has loosened from the day. Conversations replay softly, emails left unread. Nothing pressing in this minute, nothing left unsaid. I used to rush inside at one store, slam lights on bright, carrying the outside noise straight into the night. But now I linger in between, not outside or home, letting thoughts untangle before I'm fully known. Oh, engine off, lights fade, garage still and wide, cars lined up in patient rows, metal side by side, each one holding someone with their own long day, each one pausing briefly before they walk away. Stay a second, let it settle, you're not late. A door shut somewhere distant, footsteps cross the floor, keys jingle, then a hush returns the way before. Fluorescent lights above me buzz but never shout, concrete cool and steady, keeping echoes out. There's comfort in the in-between, in spaces without role, not employee or neighbor, not any label whole, just a person breathing inside a parked machine, waiting for the right moment to shift from what has been. Engine off, lights fade, I reach for the door, outside air slips inward, cooler than before. I step into the quiet, close the metal frame, carry that small stillness back with me the same. Now go gently. The sensors flicker overhead as I begin to move, concrete fading into stairs with steady quiet groove. Engine off, lights fade, but something steady stays, a calm I found in pausing between the crowded days.
You showed up at my doorway like nothing ever broke, standing there with careful eyes and words you barely spoke. You said you'd been thinking about the way we fell apart, like distance was a lesson that rewired your heart. I didn't slam the door on you, I didn't pull you in, I let the moment settle on the surface of my skin. Because the last time that you held me, I was someone else entirely, and I rebuilt my breathing, slow and quietly. You don't get to stay the same and find me where you left. You don't get to call my name like nothing was undone or kept. I'm softer, but I'm stronger than I've ever been before. If you're stepping back inside my life, you'll meet a different door. You said the nights were restless, that you traced my memory, like I was some unfinished line in your history. I listen without flinching, without a need to blame, because we both know loving isn't something you can tame. I asked you what has changed now, what makes you turn around? Is it comfort that you're missing, or solid honest ground? You held my gaze much longer than you ever used to do, and said you finally understand the weight of losing true history in my body that doesn't need a choice. But history's not destiny, it's simply what we've known. And I have learned to value the life I've grown alone. You don't get to stay the same and find me where you stood. I'm not the girl who waited, hoping you would. I've built a quiet center that doesn't lean or sway. If you wanna love me now, you'll have to meet me halfway. We walked a little farther down the block we used to claim. The sidewalks felt familiar, but I didn't feel the same. I noticed how you paused more, how you let your silence breathe, how you didn't rush to promise what you couldn't guarantee. That's new, I'll give you that. It's often something small, not a collapse of reason, not a reckless fall. Just a careful consideration, like weighing gentle glass, seeing if the cracks we had could truly ever pass. You said you're not here begging, not here to rewrite, just asking for a chance to hold me different this time. And I said I'm not rejecting, I'm not closing up the air, but I won't shrink my future to make it easier to share. You don't get to stay the same, don't expect me not to grow. Love is not a waiting room, it moves with what we know. If we begin again, it won't be out of fear, it will be because we choose it, standing fully here. So if you're staying, stay aware of who I am today, of boundaries I didn't have in words I now can say. If you're leaving, leave with truth, no vanishing in disguise, because I won't unravel for uncertain goodbyes. You reached for my hand slowly, not claiming, just asking, and I let our fingers meet without collapsing. There's warmth in second chances when both have learned to change, but only if we understand we don't get to stay the same.
There's a flicker in my front light, coins jam in the slot, selection button sticking on choices I forgot. Display reads something simple in pixelated blur, temporarily unavailable. That's what I was. I used to glow in hallways, full stock behind my glass, color-coded promises lined in shining mass. Insert the right amount, push before a C9, deliver quick convenience on predictable design. Out of order, sign taped to my chest, doesn't mean I'm empty or failing at my best. Sometimes mechanisms stall, springs misalign inside, but that doesn't mean there's nothing left to provide. The piano ticks mechanical, short notes clipped in neat, brushes imitate a metal hum and syncopated beat. The bass line keeps it grounded, low voltage and slow, like steady current waiting for the switch to glow. You shake me when I don't respond, tilt me to the side, expect a bag of something sweet to drop on cue and glide. But wires tangle quietly behind the steel facade. Not every pause is sabotage, not every glitch is flawed. I wasn't built for constant use, without a day of rest, without a quiet maintenance to reset. what's compressed. No one reads the manual, they only see the sign and walk toward brighter models in a better line. Out of order, still bolted to the wall, still holding something valuable behind it all. Maybe the coin return is just stuck halfway. Maybe patience is the only fee to pay. Don't kick the frame, just wait. There's dust along my edges, fingerprints on chrome, evidence of every hungry hour I've known. I've given out what I could in wrapped and salted form, but even steel gets tired under constant storm. Technician with a quiet face comes with simple tools, opens up the back panel, doesn't treat me like a fool. Adjusts a loosened spring, clears the jammed up track, closes me without applause, just flips the switch back. Out of order doesn't mean erased, it means a pause in motion, a recalibrated pace. Now lights come back in steady, display sharp and clear, still the same machine, just running better here. Maintenance isn't weakness, so if you see that paper sign taped across the frame, maybe don't assume it's broken beyond name. Some systems only need a moment to restore, and sometimes strength is simply knowing when to close the door. Close the door. Close the door.
The curtain breeze before it rises, a quiet tremor in the air. I stand behind the line of light, feeling every stare. It's been a while since I was here, since echoes carried my name. I've walked through seasons off this stage without applause or flame, but something in my chest stayed warm, a steady, patient tone. Not chasing noise or crowded praise, just waiting to be known. The band begins with gentle keys, a rhythm soft and tight, and when I step into the glow, it feels exactly right. My voice doesn't rush to prove, it doesn't beg or plead. It lands where it was always meant, with clarity and need. I've learned the shape of silence to the worth of being still. I face the doubt behind the door and climb my own small hill. So now I sing without disguise, no borrowed shine to wear, just breath and bone and honest sound floating through the air. I see a woman in the front, holding something in her hands. Maybe hope, maybe memory, maybe unspoken plans. If one note reaches where she sits and settles in her day, then every mile I walked away was leading to this way. The drums brush lightly under me, bass steady at my side, guitar like a whispering friend, with nothing left to hide. I don't need fireworks tonight or lights that blind the room, just this circle of open space where melodies can bloom. against my lips, I feel the pulse inside. Each phrase a living testament to why I never lied. I sing about the roads I chose, the ones I let pass by, about the courage found in staying when it was easier to fly. And as the final chorus lifts, not louder, just more sure, I know I stand in fuller skin, unedited and pure. The curtain falls without a rush, applause, a rising tide, but deeper than the clapping hands is peace I feel inside. I didn't come to chase a throne or claim what once was bright. I came to stand and let it ring. This is my voice tonight.
You asked me if this train was right for heading out of town. Ticket folded in your hand, slight worry and a frown. I checked the board above us, watched the numbers blink, said yeah you're good and gave a nod before I stopped to think. The station air was humming with luggage wheels and cars, announcements drifting overhead off concrete, steel and walls, people moving forward like chapters being turned, strangers passing strangers with no time to be concerned. 5 minutes on platform 3, that's all it ever was. No history, no afterthought, no complicated cuts, just two lives intersecting in a narrow stretch of space. A brief and simple kindness in a busy passing place. The piano keeps it gentle, a softer furthed line, brushes barely tapping like footsteps out of time. The bass line hums below us, low and easy going, like there's something steady even in not knowing. You said you hadn't traveled alone this far before, that city's felt much louder than the ones you knew before. I smiled and told a story of getting lost once too, and how the wrong direction led somewhere I outgrew. You laughed a little lighter, the tension in your face softened into something less guarded, more at ease. No promises exchanged, no numbers saved away, just understanding shared before you and your way. 5 minutes on platform 3 can shift a crowded day. A single steady sentence can keep the fear at bay. It doesn't take forever to offer someone space. Sometimes the smallest moment leaves the longest trace. You'll be alright. Trust your steps, they know the way. The train lights grew brighter, a silver rolling line, doors opening in rhythm, right on borrowed time. You lifted up your suitcase, took one steady breath, looked back just for a second, like marking what we'd met. I raised a hand in farewell, no grand emotional scene, just gratitude unfolding for what that pause had been. A reminder in the middle of schedules and of speed, that people cross your orbit right when you most need. 5 minutes on platform 3, then the whistle and the glide. Your reflection in the window carried to the other side. The crowd resumed its motion like nothing much had changed. But something in my chest felt quietly rearranged. Oh, safe travel wherever you're going. I stayed a little longer, watching rails grow still, thinking how connection doesn't always need to build. Some moments don't require a future or a plan. They just exist to prove how gentle life can stand. 5 minutes on platform 3, that's all it had to be. A small and honest meeting between you and me. No headline, no encore, no story to retrieve. Just warmth inside a fleeting moment we could leave.
I pressed the elevator button twice, the once would be enough. My reflection in the metal door looks calm but slightly flushed. The lobby hums with early steps, shoes against the floor, names exchanged in careful tones near a glass and wooden door. I smooth the edges of my sleeve, breathe slow and even air, not trying to be someone else, just standing present there. The badge they hand me feels brand new, cool against my palm. A small square sign that says begin, in measured, grounded calm. I've imagined rooms like this before, in late and quiet nights. Wondered if my voice would shake under office lights. But now the moment isn't sharp or bigger than my frame. It feels like space I've grown toward, not something wild to tame. Decks collide in steady rows, screens softly aglow. Colleagues with practice these in rhythms they already know. I do not shrink beside them or stretch beyond my size. I meet each introduction with attentive open eyes. There's comfort in admitting I am here to learn. Strength is not pretending I've already earned. The manager speaks of projects, timelines drawn in line, expectations clear and firm, yet not that unkind inside. I take notes with steady script, not racing to impress. Listen for the deeper thread in every brief address. The coffee tastes a little thin, but warms me all the same, like a quiet confirmation that I have joined the game. I used to fear the unknown room, afraid I'd stand apart, but growth begins exactly here, where courage meets the start. I ask a question carefully, not loud but strong and clear, and notice how the answer comes without a trace of sneer. There's dignity in being new, in building skill from ground, in watching how the pieces fit, in learning every sound. The afternoon unfolds in tasks, small victories in place. An email sent, a file aligned, a steady working pace. No fireworks announce the day, no headline marks my name. Yet something subtle shifts inside, a spark without a flame. I'm not required to conquer all or prove a flaw. So uphold with focus, willing heart. As sunlight leans across the glass and shadows gently grow, I gather up my notebook with more than facts to show. I carry quiet confidence, not loud but firmly set. A sense that I am capable of what I haven't met. The door behind me closes soft, the evening cool and wide. I step outside with lifted chin, no need to run or hide. Tomorrow I will walk again through that familiar hall, less uncertain than before, standing just as tall. Because the first day isn't fear or pressure to command it, simply placing steady hope in capable open hands. And in that simple honest truth, as daylight slowly bends, I know that every step from here is where becoming begins.
The chair makes a careful sound against the wooden floor. Sunlight angled through the glass like it's been here before. Dust drifting in the quiet air, slow and unafraid. Books stacked in deliberate piles of choices I've made. The clock above the far wall moves without display. No one rushing anyone to finish or to say. The turning of a single page feels louder than a crowd in this cathedral made of thought where silence is allowed. Window seat, third floor, where time expands and bends. No notifications calling, no message that demands. Just paragraphs unfolding in steady, patient streams. A room built out of language and unannounced dreams. The piano traces softer lines, clear but understated. Brushes tap a thoughtful beat, measured, uninflated. The bass line hums beneath it, low and anchored deep, like concentration settling where restless minds once sleep. I underline a sentence that seems to know my name, fold the corner carefully without a trace of shame. There's comfort in the margins, in notes beside the text, in writing small reflections on what might happen next. I used to think that focus required force and strain, that discipline was rigid and tethered tight with chain. But here it feels much different, like leaning into flow, attention like a river with somewhere real to go. Window seat, third floor, light warming up my hands. Ideas forming quietly without loud demands. There's freedom in absorption, in letting meaning stay, in trusting slow accumulation to shape another day. Stay with it, line by line. You're right here. Student at the corner, taps a pencil twice. An older man turns pages and measures careful slides. We share this open quiet without a single word, connected by intention, more felt than heard. Outside the branches sway, casting shadows thin. The world continues moving while I am moving in, not hiding from the motion, not lost inside retreat, just choosing deeper currents over constant heat. Window seat, third floor, the chapter almost done, not racing to the ending, not chasing after one, just letting understanding arrive in its own time, because insight grows in silence more than in a climb. One more page, you're not behind. I close the book with steady hands, look out at passing sky. There's clarity in slowing down instead of asking why. The chair makes that same careful sound as I begin to stand, carrying quiet knowledge I didn't have planned.
You always knew the way I think before I shaped the sound, the pauses in my sentences, the truths I wrapped around. We didn't have to overtalk or prove what we could see. There was a quiet fluency between you and me. You saw the weight behind my smile, the doubt beneath my calm, and placed your steady hand in mine without alarm. I learned the language of your eyes, the shift before you'd speak, the subtle signs that something strong was suddenly less weak. We were not reckless lovers or loud in crowded rooms. We built our closeness carefully in late night quiet tunes. So how did something so aligned begin to slowly slide? Not from anger or betrayal, but currents underneath the tide. You wanted mountains I admired but didn't need to climb. I wanted roots in smaller rooms to shape a gentler time. Neither dream was lesser, neither heart untrue, but somewhere in the middle the tension grew. We tried to compromise the shape of futures drawn in air, bent our outlines slightly to make the edges share. But love cannot erase the grain of who we are inside. It can embrace and soften, not rewrite the tide. I remember one long evening, city lights below you, speaking of horizons I was afraid to know. I nodded like I understood, and maybe part of me did, but another part was whispering of something we both hid. Not fear of loving fully, not doubt of what was real, just recognition quietly that past began to feel less parallel, more angled, less woven, more apart. Even as affection stayed anchored in the heart, we did not break in shattered pieces or slam the fragile door. We sat and let the silence say what words could not restore. There was no villain in our story, No single thing to blame, just two people evolving without the same terrain. You kiss my forehead gently, not desperate, not undone. And I felt something bittersweet instead of being stunned. Because to love someone completely sometimes means to see that holding on too tightly would undo what we could be. So we released each other without a war or cry. Not because the love was small, but because it had to fly. I walk through rooms that once were ours and do not feel erased. I feel the imprint of a bond that time will not replace. You taught me how to listen, how to stay and not retreat, how to hold another's truth with something steady, deep. We understood each other in ways that still remain, and maybe that is why the ending doesn't feel like pain. It feels like two horizons recognizing different light, turning with respect in separate night. And though our hands unclasped before the road was straight, I will always know we loved. We simply understood too late.
Concrete pillars numbered white, echo in the dark. Headlights sweep across the wall, then slowly lose their spark. I shift to park and turn the key, engine winding down. Vibration fading from the wheel into underground. Air inside the cabin, warmer than outside. Dashboard glowing steady in a muted tide. Radio still whispering, voice I barely hear. Then silence settles evenly when I switch the gear. Engine off, lights fade, breathing in the pause. No one knocking on the glass, no urgent cause, just the tick of cooling metal under dimming hue. A pocket card from motion where I can sift what's true. The piano lays in lower tones, common spaced apart. Brushes tap a gentle pulse like a slowing heart. The bass line hums beneath it, deep and grounded slow. A quiet reassurance that I don't have to go. I sit with hands on steering wheel, but not to steer away. Just feeling how the earlier rush has loosened from the day. Conversations replay softly, emails left unread. Nothing pressing in this minute, nothing left unsaid. I used to rush inside at once, door slam, lights on bright, carrying the outside noise straight into the night. But now I linger in between, not outside or home, letting thoughts untangle before I'm fully known. Stay a second, let it settle. You're not late. A door shut somewhere distant, footsteps cross the floor. Keys jingle, then a hush returns the way before. Fluorescent lights above me, buzz but never shout. Concrete cool and steady, keeping echoes out. There's comfort in the in-between, in spaces without roles. Not employee or neighbor, not any label home. Just a person breathing inside a park machine, waiting for the right moment to shift from what has been. Engine off, lights fade. I reach for the door. Outside air slips inward, cooler than before. I step into the quiet, close the metal frame, carry that small stillness back with me the same. Now go gently, gently. The sensors flicker overhead as I begin to move. Concrete fading into stairs with steady quiet glue. Engine off, lights fade, but something steady stays. A calm I found in pausing between the crowded days.
You showed up in my doorway like nothing ever broke. Standing there with careful eyes and words you barely spoke. You said you'd been thinking about the way we fell apart, like distance was a lesson that rewired your heart. I didn't slam the door on you, I didn't pull you in. I let the moment settle on the surface of my skin, because the last time that you held me, I was someone else entirely. And I rebuilt my breathing, slow and quietly. You don't get to stay the same and find me where you left. You don't get to call my name like nothing was undone or kept. I'm softer but I'm stronger than I've ever been before. If you're stepping back inside my life, you'll meet a different door. You said the nights were restless, that you traced my memory like I was some unfinished line in your history. I listen without flinching, without a need to blame, because we both know loving isn't something you can tame. I asked you what has changed now, what makes you turn around. Is it comfort that you're missing, or solid honest ground? You held my gaze much longer than you ever used to do, and said you finally understand the weight of losing true. I won't pretend my heartbeat didn't recognize your voice. There's history in my body that doesn't need a choice. But history's not destiny, it's simply what we've known. And I have learned to value the life I've grown alone. You don't get to stay the same and find me where you stood. I'm not the girl who waited, hoping you would. I've built a quiet center that doesn't lean or sway. If you want to love me now, you'll have to meet me halfway. We walked a little farther down the block we used to claim. The sidewalks felt familiar, but I didn't feel the same. I noticed how you paused more, how you let your silence breathe, how you didn't rush to promise what you couldn't guarantee. That's new, I'll give you that. It's often something small, not a collapse of reason, not a reckless fall, just a careful consideration, like weighing gentle glass, seeing if the cracks we had could truly ever pass. You said you're not here begging, not here to rewrite, just asking for a chance to hold me different this time. And I said I'm not rejecting, I'm not closing up the air, but I won't shrink my future to make it easier to share. You don't get to stay the same and expect me not to grow. Love is not a waiting room, it moves with what we know. If we begin again, it won't be out of fear, it'll be because we choose it, standing fully here. So if you're staying, stay aware of who I am today, of boundaries I didn't have and words I now can say. If you're leaving, leave with truth, no vanishing in disguise, because I will unravel for uncertain goodbyes. You reach for my hand slowly, not claiming, just asking, and I let our fingers meet without collapsing. There's warmth in second chances when both have learned to change, but only if we understand we don't get to stay the same.
There's a flicker in my front light, coins jam in the slot, selection button sticking on choices I forgot. Display reads something simple, pixelated blur, temporarily unavailable, that's what I was. I used to glow in hallways, full stock behind my glass, color-coded promises lined in shining masks. Insert the right amount, push before C9, deliver quick convenience on predictable design. Out of order, sign taped to my chest, doesn't mean I'm empty or failing at my best. Sometimes mechanisms stall, springs misalign inside, but that doesn't mean there's nothing left to provide. The piano ticks mechanical, short notes clipped and neat, brushes imitate a metal hum in syncopated beat. The bass line keeps it grounded, low voltage and slow, like steady current waiting for the switch to close. Shake me when I don't respond, tilt me to the side, expect a bag of something sweet to drop on cue and glide. But wires tangle quietly behind the steel facade. Not every pause is sabotage, not every glitch is flawed. I wasn't built for constant use without a day of rest, without a quiet maintenance to reset what's compressed. No one reads the manual, they only see the sign and walk toward brighter models in a better line. Out of order, still bolted to the wall, still holding something valuable behind it all. Maybe the coin return is just stuck halfway. Maybe patience is the only fee to pay. Don't kick the frame, just wait, there's dust along my edges, fingerprints on chrome, evidence of every hungry hour I've known. I've given out what I could been wrapped in salted foam, but even steel gets tired under constant storm. Technician with a quiet face comes with simple tools, opens up the back panel, doesn't treat me like a fool, adjusts the loosened spring, clears the jammed up track, closes me without applause, just flips the switch back. Out of order doesn't mean erased. Doesn't mean erased, it means a pause in motion, a recalibrated pace. Now lights come back in steady, display sharp and clear, still the same machine. Just running better here. Maintenance isn't weakness. Paper sign taped across the frame, maybe don't assume it's broken beyond name. Some systems only need a moment to restore, and sometimes strength is simply knowing when to close the door.
I saw you first through the window glass, reflected in a moving train. For a second I forgot to leave, like time had circled back again. You stood there with your hands in pockets, looking smaller than I knew. Or maybe I just saw you clearer, without the weight of what we grew. My heart didn't race like lightning, it didn't crash against my ribs. It moved like something careful, like it remembered how you lived. There was no storm inside me, no trembling at the knees, just a warmth that felt familiar, like a long lost melody. We almost said hello again, almost let the silence bend, almost stepped across the years that we folded into ends. You turned slightly toward me, I felt the air begin to spin. We almost said hello again, we almost let it in. I wondered if you felt it too, that gentle pull of then and now. Not a hunger, not a heartbreak, just a quiet wondering how two people once so certain could drift without a fight and still stand here unbroken in the soft electric light. I thought about the little things, the way you held your spoon, how you'd read the final pages first and hum an off-key tune. Those details didn't wound me, they didn't make me fall, they simply felt like chapters from a book I once called all. We almost said hello again, almost let our fingers move, helped improve. I saw your eyes grow warmer, like you felt it settling in. We almost said hello again. We almost let it begin. And maybe that was perfect, but nearly crossing line, because love doesn't always need to rewrite every time. Sometimes it's just a mirror held steady in the day, showing who we used to be and how we found our way. You look stronger in your stillness, more grounded than before. I saw the quiet in your shoulders, like you'd settled every war. And I stood there with my heartbeat steady as a drum, grateful for the story and who we've both become. We almost said hello again, almost said hello, but something felt complete, not broken, not unfinished, just balanced on our feet. We gave each other softness, a half smile, small and thin. We almost said hello again, and that was everything. The train arrived between us, doors sliding open wide. A brief and simple moment with nothing left to hide. You nodded like a promise that needed no defense, and I nodded back in kindness without regret or pretense. As you disappeared inside it, I didn't chase the sound, because loving you once deeply was enough to hold my ground. Some stories don't need sequels, some feelings don't demand a second chance at fire when peace is close at hand. We almost said hello again, and that was more than fine. Quiet kind of closure that felt like gentle time. No ache inside my breathing, no wish to start anew, just gratitude for who I was the day I loved you.
I bought a fern on impulse on a Tuesday after work. Didn't know the Latin name, just like this quiet perch. Set it by the window, watered it too much. Googled why are leaves turning brown, panicked at the touch. Now there's basil in the kitchen, succulents on the shelf, a cactus with an attitude that mirrors me myself. I check the soil each morning like it's breaking news. Celebrate a tiny sprout like headline-worthy view. I talk to my plants now like they understand. Hang in there, you're doing fine. It's something I've planned. I rotate them for sunlight, apologize for droughts. It's cheaper than a therapist and twice as good for laughs. The piano's got a playful swing, a little bounce and grin. Brushes tapping lightly like mischief settling in. The bass line walks in circles, confident and round, like it knows I found my calm in chlorophyll and ground. I used to chase productivity, optimize my day, track my habits, count my steps, measure every way. But nothing humbles ego like a drooping little leaf. You cannot out-hustle nature or negotiate with grief. My neighbor thinks I'm strange now, catching me mid-speech. Don't worry, little Rosemary, you're finally in reach. He waters his tomatoes, pretends he doesn't care, but I've seen him whisper when he thinks nobody's there. I talk to my plants now about my week and such. They never interrupt me or advise too much. They just stand there photosynthesizing, patient, green and still, teaching me consistency without a single drill. Grow slow, that's fine, so do the fern survived the winter, the cactus bloomed once, the basil bolted awkwardly, but that's life front to front. Some things thrive in sunlight, some need partial shade. Some days I overwater, some days I underplay. There's wisdom in the watering, in tending what you keep, in understanding progress doesn't always leap. It sometimes looks like showing up with picture in your hand, trusting small routines to slowly shape the land. I talk to my plants now, and honestly it's true. The things I say to them are things I need to hear too. Be patient with your growing, don't compare your leaves. You're allowed a season to shed what no one sees. You're doing fine. Keep preaching. They don't applaud my efforts, they don't demand a plan, but every new unfurling feels quietly grand. Turns out I didn't need another grand romance, just dirt beneath my fingernails and a second chance. Everybody's walking faster, like the pavements on a clock. Shoes tapping out ambition on every single block. Screens glowing, moving faces, deadlines in their eyes. The air is thick with hurry under steel and glass and sky. I used to match the tempo, let it pull me by the sleeve. Every ringing notification felt too loud to leave. Breathing like a contest, running without pause, measuring my value by invisible applause. But the city keeps on turning, whether I run or stand. So I loosen up my shoulders and unclench my hands. There's a rhythm underneath it, quieter than the sound, a steadier vibration if you're willing to be found. The city moves, I don't, not the way you used to make me. I let the trains rush past without letting them shake me. There's power in the choosing not to join the race, strength inside the stillness pace and holding my own pace. The piano drops a low chord, soft against the noise, brushes on the snare like a whisper in the void. The bass line hums assurance, deep and unafraid, like something rooted firm, even when it sways. Billboards flash their promises of faster, bigger, more. Elevators climb ambition through every mirrored floor, but none of it can tell me who I need to be if I forget the person walking quietly in me. The city moves, I don't, at least not in that way. I won't trade my breathing for a brighter display. There's room inside my footsteps for something real and slow, a confidence that doesn't need a spotlight's glow. Let them hurry, let them prove you don't have to. I stand at intersections and watch the colors change, red to green to yellow in predictable exchange. Everyone surges forward like there's something to defend, but I've learned the art of waiting without fearing what might. There's clarity in choosing not to answer every call, not to fill each silence or scale each shining wall. I'm building something quieter, layer by steady layer, a foundation made of patience and honest self-aware. The city moves, I don't, I bend but never break. I move when it feels right, not for appearance sake. There's calm inside my center that no rush can displace, a grounded kind of certainty the skyline can't erase. You're not behind, you're just aligned with your own design. Night settles over windows, reflections in the rain. The noise becomes a distant hum instead of steady strain. And I can walk these crowded streets without absorbing speed, because I know the difference between a want and need. The city moves, I don't, not unless I choose. I don't have to chase the shine or fear what I might lose. There's freedom in the knowing that I can simply be a steady pulse of purpose in the heart of urgency.
You always sit across from me like nothing ever should, laughing at the smallest things, pretending we're just this. But something in the way your fingers trace the rim of your glass feels different than the years that I've already passed. We said we'd never complicate the comfort that we could, kept every moment balanced without a hint of guilt. Yet every time your shoulder brushes close to mine, there's a quiet spark running under the line. I know your story's like the back of my hand, every reckless plan you never quite planned. You know the way my voice will fall when I'm unsure. softness in your steady gaze, a lingering pause that gently stays, like we're standing on a fragile edge, neither stepping back nor making a pledge. I don't want fireworks tearing the air, no grand display to prove we care, just the warmth of your knee against mine, and that slow, unspoken sign. Maybe love doesn't arrive with a shout. Maybe it grows while we're figuring out how to hold the silence without fear, how to let someone truly near. Your laughter lands deeper than before, echoing somewhere at my core. It's not the same familiar sound, there's a tenderness newly found. I catch myself watching the curve of your smile, holding my breath just a little while, wondering when exactly we cross from safe and certain to gently lost. If I reach for your hand tonight, will it feel natural? Will it feel right? Or will the world tilt softly around, changing the shape of every sound? I don't need promises carved in stone, or perfect words carefully shown. Just meet me here in this in-between, where something honest can be seen. Let's not rush what's blooming slow, let it unfold the way we know, with steady rhythm, calm and true, like every quiet talk we grew through. And if tomorrow carries a different name for what we are and what became, I'll remember this delicate phase where friendship softened into praise. So stay a moment longer than planned, let your fingers rest near my hand. Right here where nothing seems to move is exactly where our hearts improve. No sudden change, no dramatic sign, just your breath falling close to mine. And in that space, so clear and strange, is the place where we quietly change. Looked up only for a second, but something shifted in the air, not loud enough for anyone. Yet suddenly you were there. The cafe noise kept moving on, spoons against porcelain tone. But in that small suspended beat, I didn't feel alone. It wasn't lightning, wasn't flame, no cinematic sign, just a subtle rearranging of your rhythm close to mine. You asked if this seat was taken, your voice low, steady, kind. I nodded with a careful smile, unsure what I might find. We spoke of ordinary things, work and weather, passing days, yet underneath the simple words a softer current sways. I noticed how you listened fully, not waiting just to speak. Your focus felt intentional, unrushed, sincere, unique. There was a warmth in how you laughed, not sharp, not seeking praise. It settled gently in my chest and lingered in quiet ways. I've known attraction quick and bright, the kind that burns too fast, but this was different, grounded, slow, like something built to last. You didn't try to impress the room or turn the light your way. You stayed within your natural frame and let the moment stay. When silence came, it wasn't strained. It rested soft and wide, like we were testing if this space was safe enough inside. I found myself revealing truths I rarely let unfold. Not secrets heavy with regret, but stories rarely told. You didn't interrupt the thread or rush to make it light. You let my words exist as they were, unedited, upright. The piano somewhere near the bar played chords in mellow hue. Each note seemed to underline the ease I felt with you. We didn't speak of future plans or label what we felt. Yes, something honest had begun before our coffee knelt. A brush of fingers passing change, a glance held half a beat. The world continued as before, but softer at my feet. I walked outside beside you, the afternoon still young. Not holding hands, just side by side with sentences unsung. There's courage in the early stage before declarations rise. When hope is quiet, steady toned and lives between the eyes. You said you'd like to see me soon, no pressure in the phrase. Just open air around the words, no hidden maze. I've learned not every spark must race toward promise or design. Sometimes the beauty lives within the patient, fragile line. So I let the feeling breathe, didn't grip or guard, allowed it room to form itself without pushing too hard. As we parted at the corner, your smile stayed with me, not as a fantasy to chase, but simple possibility. There's something rare in being met, without a need to prove, where presence is enough to hold the smallest shift and move. Maybe this will grow with time or gently fade away, but what began between our words already changed my day. Not with fireworks overhead or dramatic display, but with a steady open warmth that chose to stay.
Laundry basket by the door, sunlight on the tiles, loose change in the pocket from a week of scattered miles. I separate the colors like I've done 100 times. Cotton denim, ordinary fragments of small climbs. The washer starts its turning, low mechanical refrain. Water filling up the drum, soft and unrestrained. There's comfort in the pattern, in cycles set and sure, in knowing that the process will quietly endure. Spin cycle Saturday, nothing grand at stake, just fabric, soap and gravity and gentle give and take. No speeches to deliver, no deadlines in my head, just rhythm and repetition and a made weekend day. The piano keeps it simple with open easy chords. Brushes mark a lazy beat like footsteps on the boards. The bass line hums beneath it, warm and steady tone. The grounded reassurance that I'm not alone. I used to call this boring, the slow domestic kind, dreaming of some louder scene to occupy my mind. But now I feel the value in folding what I wear and smoothing out creases with patient, quiet care. There's something almost meditative Seeing stains release their hold from where they once had been. Proof that even stubborn moths can loosen if you wait. Not everything requires a drastic shift in stance. Spin cycle Saturday keeps the week at bay, washing off the rush of it in a steady sway. There's dignity in tending to details small and plain, in building peace from habits that quietly remain. Slow down, it's alright to live like this. The buzzer sounds its ending, a soft mechanical cue. I lift the lid and feel the warmth of something made anew. Steam rising lightly upward into open air. The scent of simple cleanliness settling everywhere. I hang the shirts by a window light, let them breathe and dry. Watching breeze move gently under open sky. There's no dramatic milestone, no applause to earn, just shirts aligned on hangers, waiting for their turn. Spin cycle Saturday teaches me to see the worth inside the ordinary that steadies me. Not every satisfaction needs a spotlight's ray. Sometimes it's in the turning of a quiet Saturday. You're doing fine right here. By evening they are folded, stacked in tidy rows, ready for another week of errands, work and roads. And I feel strangely centered in this modest ritual, because peace can start so simply in something habitual.
For the same one novel at the corner of the shelf. Your fingers brushed against mine and paused without a help. Dust hung softly in the sunlight, cutting through the air. The quiet of the little shop wrapped around us there. You smiled like it was nothing, just a simple overlap. But something in the stillness shifted in the gap. The wooden floor beneath our steps carried gentle sound. Every whisper of a page felt steady and profound. I've always loved these hidden rooms where time is stretched and thin, where stories rest in careful stacks and softer thoughts begin. You asked if I had read this one, your voice low, calm and clear, not loud enough to draw a glance, yet somehow drawing near. We spoke of lines that stayed with us, of endings bittersweet, of characters who felt like friends we'd one day hope to meet. There was no rush to impress, no clever words on cue, just honest curiosity moving between me and you. The scent of paper aged and warm felt grounding at my side, like memory without the weight or anything nothing to hide. I noticed how you listen without planning what to say. Your focus wasn't wandering or drifting far away. I've known conversations quick, bright sparks that fade too fast, but this unfolded gradually like something built to last. You held the book a little closer, tracing lines and thought, not performing knowledge or claiming what you'd caught. Outside the world kept moving, cars and hurried feet, but here between the shelves the rhythm felt complete. I didn't feel the need to shine or shape a perfect tone. I spoke the way I truly think, unfiltered, fully known. You laughed at something small I said, not exaggerated or loud, just warm enough to settle in. Without a need for crowd, we drifted toward the narrow desk where purchases are made, but neither of us seemed to want the moment to fade. You asked if I came here often, I shrugged and said sometimes. The truth was I had searched for spaces where silence gently chimes, not empty, not alone, but spacious in design, where minds can meet in quiet ways without a flashing sign. You wrote your number on the receipt, not bold, not disguised, just steady handwriting, unhurried and precise. No promise wrapped in urgency, no script about what's next, just possibility untangled and unflexed. When I stepped back into the street with paper bag in hand, the afternoon felt altered in ways I hadn't planned, not by spectacle or flame, not by dramatic cue, but by a moment softly held between the shelves with you. And as I walked beneath the trees with sunlight in my view, I realized some stories start without announcing they do.
Fluorescent lights too bright for night, buzzing over tile, plastic chairs in faded blue, lined in single file. Machines spinning steady rows, glass doors catching foam, coins clink down metallic slots, a rhythm of their own. Detergent in the heavy air, warm and slightly sweet. Dryers rumble, patient circles, low mechanical beat. A television mounted high without a single sound. Subtitles for a drama, no one gathers round. Quarter turns at 2 a.m., clothes tumbling slow. Watching fabric twist and fall in steady undertow. No one asks for conversation, no one needs a name, just strangers in rotation in this late night frame. The piano rests in mellow chords, soft and evenly spaced. Brushes mark a subtle pulse, unhurried, unchased. The bass line hums beneath it, deep inside the floor, like grounding through vibration behind the dryer's roar. A woman folds in practice lines, precise and square and neat. A man in work boots checks his phone, then rubs his tired feet. Someone studies quietly on a plastic chair, highlighter moving slowly through textbook air. Quarter turns at 2 a.m. Keep the thoughts aligned. Watching cycles rinse and spin clears a restless mind. There's something in the waiting, in the low machine refrain, that smooths out sharper words without calling them by name. Let it turn, let it spin. You don't have to rush. I lean against the counter, sip from paper cup. Let the hum surround me till the day loosens up. Not glamorous, not cinematic, just ordinary light. But ordinary feels different in the middle of the night. The dryers slow their rotation, heat fading into warm. A gentle kind of decrescendo after steady storm. I pull the clothes out carefully, steam against my face. There's comfort in the warmth of it, in freshly folded space. Quarter turns at 2 a.m., not wasting time at all. Sometimes the smallest pauses are the steadiest of calls. No deadlines in this moment, no spotlight overhead, just tumbling through the noise inside my head. Almost done, take it home. I stack the folded cotton, balanced on my arm. Push the door into the night, cool air replacing warm. Machines keep spinning softly behind the closing frame. Quarter turns at 2 a.m., still humming just the same.
Saw you first through the window glass, reflected in a moving train. For a second I forgot to breathe, like time to circle back again. You stood there with your hands in pockets looking smaller than I knew. Or maybe I just saw you clearer, without the weight of what we grew. My heart didn't race like lightning, it didn't crash against my ribs. It moved like something careful, like it remembered how you lived. There was no storm inside me, no trembling at the knees, just a warmth that felt familiar, like a long lost melody. We almost said hello again, almost let the silence bend, almost stepped across the years that we folded into ends. You turned slightly toward me, I felt the air begin to spin. We almost said hello again, we almost let it in. chapters from a book I once called. Oh, we almost said hello again. Almost let our fingers move. Almost asked about the years and what they helped improve. I saw your eyes grow warmer, like you felt it settling in. We almost said hello again. We almost let it begin. And maybe that was perfect, that nearly crossing line. Because love doesn't always need to rewrite every time. Sometimes it's just a mirror held steady in the day, showing who we used to be and how we found our way. You look stronger in your stillness, more grounded than before. I saw the quiet in your shoulders, like you'd settled every war. And I stood there with my heartbeat steady as a drum, grateful for the story and who we've both become. We almost said hello again, but something felt complete, not broken, not unfinished, just balanced on our feet. We gave each other softness, a half smile, small and thin. We almost said hello again, and that was everything. The train arrived between us, doors sliding open wide. A brief and simple moment, with nothing left to hide. You nodded like a promise that needed no defense, and I nodded back in kindness without regret or pretend. As you disappeared inside it, I didn't chase the sound, because loving you once deeply was enough to hold my ground. Some stories don't need sequels, some feelings don't demand a second chance at fire when peace is close at hand. We almost said hello again, and that was more than fine. A quiet kind of closure that felt like gentle time. No ache inside my breathing, no wish to start anew, just gratitude for who I was. The day I loved you.
I bought a fern on impulse on a Tuesday after work. Didn't know the Latin name, just liked its quiet perk. Set it by the window, watered it too much. Googled why are leaves turning brown. Panicked at the touch. Now there's basil in the kitchen, succulents on the shelf. A cactus with an attitude that mirrors me myself. I check the soil each morning like it's breaking news. Celebrate a tiny sprout like headline-worthy views. I talk to my plants now like they understand. Hang in there, you're doing fine. Is something I've planned. I rotate them for sunlight, apologize for drafts. It's cheaper than a therapist and twice as good for laughs. The piano's got a playful swing, a little bouncing grin. Brushes tapping lightly, like mischief settling in. The bass line walks in circles, confident and round, like it knows I found my calm in chlorophyll and ground. I used to chase productivity, optimize my day, track my habits, count my my steps, measure every way. But nothing humbles ego like a drooping little leaf. You cannot out-hustle nature or negotiate with grief. My neighbor thinks I'm strange now, catching me mid-speech. Don't worry, little rosemary, you're finally in reach. He waters his tomatoes, pretends he doesn't care. But I've seen him whisper when he thinks nobody's there. I talk to my plants now about my week and such. They never interrupt me or advise too much. They just stand there photosynthesizing, patient, green and still, teaching me consistency without a single drill. Grow slow, that's fine. So do I. The fern survived the winter, the cactus bloomed once, the basil bolted awkwardly. But that's life front to front. Some things thrive in sunlight, some need partial shade. Some days I overwater, some days I underplay. There's wisdom in the watering and tending what you keep. And understanding progress doesn't always leap. It sometimes looks like showing up with picture in your hand, trusting small routines to slowly shape the land. I talk to my plants now, and honestly it's true. The things I say to them are things I need to hear too. Be patient with your growing, don't compare your leaves. You're allowed a season to shed what no one sees. You're doing fine. Keep reaching. They don't applaud my efforts, they don't demand a plan, but every new unfurling feels quietly grand. Turns out I didn't need another grand romance, just dirt beneath my fingernails and a second chance.
You always sit across from me like nothing ever shifts, laughing at the smallest things, pretending we're just this. But something in the way your fingers trace the rim of your glass feels different than the years that have already passed. We said we never complicate the comfort that we build, kept every moment balanced without a hint of guilt. Yet every time your shoulder brushes close to mine, there's a quiet spark running under. I know your story's like the back of my hand. Every reckless plan you never quite planned. You know the way my voice will fall when I'm unsure of it all. But lately there's a softness in your steady gaze, a lingering pause that gently stays, like we're standing on a fragile edge, neither stepping back nor making a pledge. I don't want fireworks tearing the air, no grand display to prove we care, just the warmth of your need against mine. And that slow, unspoken sign. Maybe love doesn't arrive with a shout, maybe it grows while we're figuring out how to hold the silence without fear, how to let someone truly safe and certain, too gently lost. If I reach for your hand tonight, will it feel natural? Will it feel right? Or will the world tilt softly around, changing the shape of every sound? I don't need promises carved in stone, or perfect words carefully shown. Just meet me here in this in-between, where something honest can be seen. Let's not rush what's blooming, slow, let it unfold the way we know, with steady rhythm, calm and true, like every quiet talk we grew through. And if tomorrow carries a different name, for what we are and what became, I'll remember this delicate phase where friendship softened into praise. So stay a moment longer than planned, let your fingers rest near my hand, right here where nothing seems to move. It's exactly where our hearts improve. No sudden change, no dramatic sign, just your breath falling close to mine. And in that space so clear and strange is the place where we quietly change.
Everybody's walking faster, like the pavements on a clock. Shoes tapping out ambition on every single block. Screens glow with moving faces, deadlines in their eyes. The air is thick with haze, under steel and glass and sky. I used to match the tempo, let it pull me by the sleeve. Every ringing notification felt too loud to leave. Breathing like a counter, running without pause, measuring my value by invisible applause. But the city keeps on turning, whether I run or stand. So I loosen up my shoulders and unclench my hands. There's a rhythm underneath, quieter than the sound, a steadier vibration, if you're willing to be found. The city moves, I don't, not the way it used to make me. I let the trains rush past without letting them shake me. There's power in the choosing not to join the race, strength inside the stillness in holding my own pace. The piano drops a low chord, soft against the noise, brushes on the snare like a whisper in the void. The bass line hums assurance, deep and unafraid, like something rooted firmly, even when it sways. Billboards flash their promises of faster, bigger, more. Elevators climb ambition through every mirrored floor, but none of it can tell me who I need to be if I forget the person walking quietly in me. The city moves, I don't, at least not in that way. I won't trade my breathing for a brighter display. There's room inside my footsteps for something real and slow, a confidence that doesn't need a spotlight's glow. Let them hurry, let them prove you don't have to. I stand at intersections and watch the colors change, red to green to yellow, in predictable exchange. Everyone surges forward like there's something to defend. But I've learned the art of waiting without fearing what might end. There's clarity in choosing not to answer every call, not to fill each silence or scale each shining wall. I'm building something quieter, layer by steady layer, a foundation made of patience and honest self-aware. The city moves, I bend but never break. I move when it feels right, not for appearance sake. There's calm inside my center that no rush can displace, a grounded kind of certainty the skyline can't erase. Oh, you're not behind, you're just aligned with your own design. Night settles over windows, reflections in rain. The noise becomes a distant hum instead of steady stream. And I can't walk these crowded streets without absorbing speed, because I know the difference between a want and need. The city moves, I don't, not unless I choose. I don't have to chase the shine or fear what I might lose. There's freedom in the knowing that I can simply be a steady pulse of purpose in the heart of urgency.
You looked up only for a second, like something shifted in the air, not loud enough for anyone. Like suddenly you were there. The cafe noise kept moving on, spoons against porcelain tone. But in that small suspended beat, I didn't feel alone. It wasn't light, it wasn't flame, no cinematic sign, just a subtle rearranging of your rhythm close to mine. You asked if this seat was taken, your voice low, steady, kind. I nodded with a careful smile, sure what I might find. We spoke of ordinary things, work and weather, passing days. Yet underneath the simple words, a softer current sways. I noticed how you listened fully, not waiting just to speak. Your focus felt intentional, unrushed, sincere, unique. There was a warmth in how you laughed, not sharp, not seeking praise. It settled gently in my chest and lingered in quiet ways. I've known attraction quick and bright, the kind that burns too fast. But this was different, grounded, slow, like something built to last. You didn't try to impress the room or turn the light your way. You stayed within your natural frame and let the moment stay. When silence came, it wasn't strained, it rested soft and wide, like we were testing if this space was safe enough inside. I found myself revealing truths I rarely let unfold, not secrets heavy with regret, but stories rarely told. You didn't interrupt the thread or rush to make it right. You let my words exist as they were, unedited, upright. The piano somewhere near the bar played chords in mellow hue. Each note seemed to underline the ease I felt with you. We didn't speak of future plans or label what we felt, yet something honest had begun before our coffee night. A brush of fingers, passing change, a glance held half a beat. The world continued as before, but softer at my feet. I walked walked outside beside you. The afternoon's still young, not holding hands, just side by side with sentences unsung. There's courage in the early stage before declarations rise. When hope is quiet, steady toned, and lips between the eyes. You said you'd like to see me soon. No pressure in the phrase, just open air around the words. No hidden names. I've learned not every spark must race toward promise or design. Sometimes the beauty lives within the patient, fragile line. So I let the feeling breathe. Didn't grip or guard, allowed it room to form itself without pushing too hard. As we parted at the corner, your smile stayed with me, not as a fantasy to chase, but simple possibility. There's something rare in being met without a need to prove, where presence is enough to hold the smallest shift and move. Maybe this will grow with time or gently fade away, but what began between words already changed my day. Not with fireworks overhead or dramatic display, but with a steady open warmth that chose to stay.
Laundry basket by the door, sunlight on the tiles, loose change in the pocket from a week of scattered miles. I separate the colors like I've done 100 times. Cotton denim, ordinary fragments of small crumbs. The washer starts its turn, low mechanical refrain, water filling up the drum, soft and unrestrained. There's comfort in the pattern, in cycles set and sure, in knowing that the process will quietly endure. Spin cycle Saturday, nothing grand at stake, just fabric, soap and gravity and gentle give and take. No speeches to deliver, no deadlines in my head, just rhythm in repetition and unmade weekend bed. The piano keeps it simple with open, easy chords. Brushes mark a lazy beat like footsteps on the boards. The bass line hums beneath it, warm and steady tone, a grounded reassurance that I'm not alone. I used to call this boring, the slow domestic kind, dreaming of some louder scene to occupy my mind. But now I feel the value in folding what I wear, in smoothing out the creases with patient, quiet care. There's something almost meditative in watching water spin, seeing stains release their hold from where they once had been. Proof that even stubborn marks can loosen if you wait. Not everything requires a drastic shift in state. Spin cycle Saturday keeps the week at bay, washing off the rush of it in a steady sway. There's dignity in tending to details small and plain, in building peace from habits that quietly remain. Slow down, it's alright to live like this. The buzzer sounds, it's ending, a
a soft mechanical cue. I lift the lid and feel the warmth of something made anew. Steam rising lightly upward into open air. The scent of simple cleanliness settling everywhere. I hang the shirts by window light, let them breathe and dry. Watching breeze move gently under open sky. There's no dramatic milestone, no applause to earn. Just shirts aligned on hangers, waiting for their turn. Spin cycle Saturday teaches me to see the worth inside the ordinary that steadies me. Not every satisfaction needs a spotlight's ray. Sometimes it's in the turning of a quiet Saturday. You're doing fine right here. By evening they are folded, stacked in tidy rows, ready for another week of errands, work and roads. And I feel strangely centered in this modest ritual, because peace can start so simply in something habitual.
I reach for the same worn novel at the corner of the shelf. Your fingers brushed against mine and paused without a help. Dust hung softly in the sunlight, cutting through the air. The quiet of the little shop wrapped around us there. You smile like it was nothing, just a simple overlap. But something in the stillness shifted in the gap. The wooden floor beneath our steps carried gentle sound. Every whisper of a page felt steady and profound. I've always loved these hidden rooms where time is stretched and thin, where stories rest in careful stacks and softer thoughts begin. You asked if I had read this one, your voice low, calm and clear, not loud enough to draw a glance, yet somehow drawing near. We spoke of lines that stayed with us, of endings bittersweet, of characters who felt like friends we'd one day hope to meet. There was no rush to impress, no clever words on cue, just honest curiosity moving between me and you. The sense of preparation warm felt grounding at my side, like memory without the weight or anything to hide. I noticed how you listened without planning what to say. Your focus wasn't wandering or drifting far away. I've known conversations quick, bright sparks that fade too fast, but this unfolded gradually like something built to last. You held the book a little closer, tracing lines in thought, not performing knowledge or claiming what you'd caught. Outside the world kept moving, cars and hurried feet, but here between the shelves the rhythm felt complete. I didn't feel the need to shine or shape a perfect tone. I spoke the way I truly think, unfiltered, fully known. You laughed at something small I said, not exaggerated or loud, just warm enough to settle in without a need for a crowd. We drifted toward the narrow desk where purchases are made, but neither of us seemed to want the moment to fade. You asked if I came here often, shrugged and said sometimes the truth was I had searched for spaces where silence gently chimes, not empty, not alone, but spacious in design, where minds can meet in quiet ways without a flashing sign. You wrote your number on the receipt, not bold, not disguised, just steady handwriting, unhurried and precise. No promise wrapped in urgency, no script about what's next, just possibility untangled and unflexed. When I step back into the street with paper bag in hand, the afternoon felt altered in ways I hadn't planned, not by spectacle or flame, not by dramatic cue, but by a moment softly held between the shelves with you. And as I walked beneath the trees with sunlight in my view, I realized some stories start without announcing. They do.
Fluorescent lights too bright for night, buzzing over time. Fantastic chairs and faded blue, lined in single file. Machine spinning steady rolls, glass doors catching foam. Coins clink down metallic slots, a rhythm of their own. Detergent in the heavy air, warm and slightly sweet. Dryers rumble, patient circles, low mechanical beat. A television mounted high without a single sound. Subtitles for a drama no one gathers round. Quarter turns at 2 a.m., clothes tumbling slow. Watching fabric twist and fall in steady undertow. No one asks for conversation, no one needs a name. Just strangers in rotation in this late night frame. The piano rests in mellow chords, soft and evenly spaced. Brushes mark a subtle pulse, unhurried, unchased. The bass line hums beneath it, deep inside the floor, like grounding through vibration behind the dryer's roar. A woman folds in practice lines, precise and square and neat. A man in work boots checks his phone and rubs his tired feet. Someone studies quietly on a plastic chair. Highlighter moving slowly through textbook air. Quarter turns at 2 a.m. Keep the thoughts aligned. Watching cycles rinse and spin clears a restless mind. There's something in the waiting, in the low machine refrain, that smooths out sharper worries without calling them by name. Let it turn, let it spin. You don't have to rush. I lean against the counter, sip from a paper cup. Let the hum surround me till the day loosens up. Not glamorous, not cinematic, just ordinary light. But ordinary feels different in the middle of the night. The dryers slow their rotation, heat fading into warm, a gentle kind of decrescendo after steady storm. I pull the clothes out carefully, steam against my face. comfort in the warmth of it in freshly folded space. Quarter turns at 2 a.m., not wasting time at all. Sometimes the smallest pauses are the steadiest of calls. No deadlines in this moment, no spotlight overhead, just tumbling through the noise inside my head. Almost done. Take it home. I stacked the folded cotton balanced on my arm. Push the door into the night, cool air replacing warm. Machines keep spinning softly behind the closing frame. Quarter turns at 2 a.m. Still humming just the same.
We didn't light the candles, we didn't pour the wine. No need for decoration to mark a fragile line. You sat across the table like every night before, except the air between us knew something more. I traced the edge of your sleeve, you watched my steady hands. We spoke about the weather like we had other plans, but underneath the surface where honesty can hide, there was a quiet knowing we couldn't push aside. The last night we were us, no thunder, no collapse, just two familiar heartbeats, counting careful gaps. No anger in the silence, no bitterness to prove, just love that had grown gentler with nothing left to move. We talked about the early days when everything was new, how we would miss the bus on purpose just to talk it through, how you would pull me closer in the middle of the street like the whole wide world was ours under tired city heat. We laughed at our old arguments, the ones that felt so big. Now they seem like stepping stones to who we had to live. Becoming through the friction, growing through the strain. Sometimes love refines you even when it cannot remain. I reached across and held your face, not clinging, not in fear, just memorizing details that once felt so near. The curve beside your left eye, the softness in your jaw, the version of you I learned without a single flaw. The last night we were us, no breaking plates in two, no promises to rewrite or vows to make anew, just gratitude unfolding across the kitchen light for everything we learned before this gentle night. You told me I was braver than I believed I could be, that loving me had changed you in ways you'll always see. I told you I was grateful for every steady year, for how you held my shaking and met me without fear. There was no need for rescue, no grand dramatic plea. We both had grown in directions that asked to be set free, and sometimes that's the courage not to hold too tight, but to loosen with compassion on a quiet night. We walked wash the cups together like ritual and release. Your shoulder brushed against mine with practiced easy peace. It didn't feel like ending, more like turning a page where two complete and tender hearts step into a different stage. The last night we were us, we let the future breathe, not as something stolen, but something we could leave in the hands of better timing, in the space of kinder truth. We gave each other dignity along with fading youth. When it was time for sleeping, you held me like before, not tighter than you had to, not closer than what's sure. And in that steady heartbeat, I felt no need to fight, because loving you was real, even on this last night. Yeah, morning came without a tremor, soft light across the floor. We didn't rush the doorway or hesitate once more. You picked up your small suitcase, I walked you to the hall, and in that simple gesture, we honored it all. The last night we were us, we'll never feel undone. It lives inside my breathing like something gently won. Not every love must linger to prove that it was right. Some stories end in kindness, like ours did last night.
I spilled my coffee on the counter right at 8:15. Late for something I can't remember, but acting like a scene. Wallet half inside my jacket, phone between my teeth, trying hard to multitask with dignity beneath. The barista looked up calmly, like none of it was new, handed me a stack of napkins, said I got you. Then he paused before he turned back toward the machine and said my name so casually, like it always did. A stranger who knew my name caught me off my guard, not from fame or status, not from working hard, just from showing up and late at the same old place. Turns out being ordinary leaves a trace. The piano leans into a brighter groove, a little lift and stride, brushes tapping crisp and light with humor tucked inside. The bass line walks with confidence, easy, clean and clear, like something small but meaningful just happened here. I laughed it off too quickly. Did I forget we met? He shrugged and kept it simple, no I just don't forget. Said I order oat milk every single week, said I hum when I'm impatient, said I rarely speak. Suddenly I wasn't rushing or late for anything, I was just a regular in the middle of a swing of daily human overlap that quieted your lines. The unnoticed repetition of our passing times. The stranger who knew my name didn't change my life, didn't hand me revelation, didn't solve my strife, but something shifted subtly in how I moved that day, realizing I was visible in an unremarkable way. Ooh, you're seen more than you think. I walked out into traffic
about the thousand faces I fail to really greet. How many names I've overheard without holding on. How many quiet constants I've leaned upon. He wasn't flirting, wasn't prying, wasn't overkind, just paying close attention to the background of my mind. And in a world of noise and scrolling, profiles neatly framed, there's something revolutionary in someone knowing your name. The stranger who knew my name wasn't trying to impress, just doing what he always does with steady attentiveness. And maybe that's the lesson hidden in plain sight. Recognition doesn't need a spotlight. Learn a name. Keep it. Now when I step inside that shop, I look a little longer at faces I once skimmed past like they were barely there. Turns out connection isn't rare or cosmic or untamed. Sometimes it's just consistency and someone knowing your name. You still thinking about it? You asked across the sink. Dishes halfway done, water running thin. I mean the thing you said last week about the class, the run, the book you swore you'd finally write before the year is done. I dried my hands on denim, pretended not to hear. You know how Mondays go, I said, they disappear. You laughed like you had practiced that exact reply before. You've been starting Mondays since 2024. We said we'd start Monday every single time. Gym shoes by the doorway, still in perfect line. Not broken, not defeated, just comfortably delayed. Living in the promise of a plan not yet made. The piano's got a playful lean, almost teasing right. Brushes snap with subtle wit, not heavy, not too tight. The bass line walks with attitude, confident, amused, like it's heard this conversation, knows how it concludes. You don't need a Monday, you said leaning in. Tuesday works just fine, you know, or right now or within. I rolled my eyes dramatically like I always do, but something in your tone felt inconveniently true. We've bought the journals, calendars, highlighters and rolls, made ambitious spreadsheets with color-coded goals. Sworn that this is different, this is finally it. Then ordered takeout quietly and Netflix after it. We said we'd start Monday because it sounds so clean, a fresh official gateway to the disciplined routine. But maybe we don't need a trumpet or a drum. Maybe starting softly is how things get done. What if we just begin right here? You grabbed your coat and key, said, walk with me instead. No 10-mile transformation just around the block, you said. I sighed like it was sacrifice of something grand and rare, but slipped on shoes regardless because you were standing there. Outside the air was simple, no soundtrack, no parade, just footsteps finding rhythm in the choice we made. We didn't map a future or swear to never quit. We just kept moving forward a little bit by bit. We said we'd start Monday, but Wednesday did just fine. No headline, no announcement, no perfect leader line. Life doesn't need a ceremony to shift into gear. Sometimes it starts in kitchen light, between the plates and here. So tomorrow again. You smiled without conditions. Sure, but if not then we'll start the next small minute like we always can. And suddenly the grand idea felt lighter in its way, not waiting for a Monday to choose another day.
I didn't plan to notice you. It happened in between. A question about the weather and what the weekend means. You laughed before you finished, like the punchline came too soon. And something in that looseness shifted softly in the room. I wasn't looking for a spark, I wasn't chasing signs. I'd folded up my history and packed away those lines. They used to write themselves at night across my open chest. But there you were without a plan, disturbing all my rest. It wasn't wild or reckless, no dizzy spinning floor, just a quiet recognition I had felt once before. Not the same familiar echo, not the shadow of the past, but something built on patience like it meant to slowly last. When my heart tried again, it didn't break the door. It knocked with steady fingers like it had learned before. No racing into forever, no promises too soon, just a steady growing rhythm like a low and honest tune. You asked me what I love to do when no one else could see. I told you about midnight walks and riding secretly. You listen without fixing, without trying to impress. And that simple kind of presence felt like unexpected grace. There was a moment I went silent, felt the old defense arise, a reflex born of endings and unfinished goodbyes. But you didn't rush to fill it, you let the quiet stay. And somehow in that breathing my fear just slipped away. I remembered what it cost me to give myself before, how I learned that love can flourish even when it doesn't endure. And I swore I'd guard my softness like something made of glass. Yet here I was considering letting new light pass. When my heart tried again, did it carefully, not falling into stories or rewriting history. It opened like a window, not a storm, not a flame, just enough to let in color where the walls had been the same. You didn't ask about my ex or who I used to be. You asked me what I'm dreaming now and who I hope to see. Becoming in the future, growing into space, and loving you feels different because it moves at its own pace. I'm not comparing memories or measuring your touch against just a ghost of yesterday that once meant far too much. You are not a replacement, not a cure or repair. You're simply something blooming because you happen to be there. And that feels strangely freeing, like breath without a weight, like stepping toward a doorway without sealing my fate. I don't need a grand forever or fireworks above, just a chance to feel this courage and call it something close to love. When my heart tried again, it surprised me with its grace. Not desperate for belonging, just willing to embrace the possibility of laughter that lingers after rain. The chance to build a story without repeating pain. So if this grows, I'll let it. If it fades, I'll understand. Because loving once has taught me how to open up my hand. And whatever shape this takes now, I know I will remain whole within my breathing. When my heart tried again.
Never were the loudest man in any crowded room. Never chased attention or tried to shape the tune. He spoke in steady sentences, measured and precise. The kind that didn't echo, but somehow still felt right. I used to think that silence was distance in disguise, that love had to be spoken, invisible replies. But growing up beside you taught me something else, that presence has a language all quietly itself. The way you never said it still told me everything, in early drives to nowhere, in fixing broken things, in coffee poured before I woke, in waiting by the door, in showing up each single time without asking for more. The piano keeps it simple, a low and steady chord, brushes barely touching like they understand the score. The bass line rests beneath it, deep, calm and true, a grounding kind of comfort that reminds me of you. You never gave long lectures or mapped out who I'd be. You let me test the edges of my own uncertainty. You watched me make decisions that didn't always land, but never once withdrew your quiet open hand. The way you never said it was clearer than a speech, in how you stood beside me when life was out of reach. No spotlight on your patience, no banner in the air, just steady reassurance that someone would be there. I see it now, what I missed before, it was always there. There were evenings at the table where words were running thin, but comfort filled the spaces between the plates and tin. You asked about my day in that understated tone, not pushing for confession, just letting it be known that I could take my time, that I could find my way, that not every answer had to come that day. You never
rushed my growing or measured me by speed. You trusted something deeper than performance or a need. The way you never said it built something in my chest, a steady kind of courage that outlasts every test. I carry it in meetings, in moments when I doubt, a quiet inner anchor when things feel sorted out. I understand more than I did then. Now when I catch my reflection in glass or window light, I sometimes see your posture in how I stand upright. The calm before responding, the pause before I speak, the strength inside restraint that doesn't make me weak. The way you never said it is how I try to live, with steady hands and open space for others just to give. Not louder, not more dazzling, just grounded and aware, showing up consistently in ways that say I care. So here's to quiet fathers and lessons without claim, to love that doesn't advertise or ask to stake its name. The way you never said it still echoes in my head, a language made of action, more powerful than said.
I stepped off the train without a plan, just a map folded in my coat. No one waiting at the gate, no message left or note. The platform breathed a different pace than what I left behind. Strange voices weaving through the air, unfamiliar yet kind. I let my footsteps choose a street without a guiding call. No expectation on my back, no mirror on the wall. The buildings rose in quiet grace, not asking who I am. They didn't measure where I've been or grade what I began. There's freedom in anonymity, in moving through a crowd where history does not precede or speak my name out loud. I found a small cafe at noon with windows open wide, sat near the glass and watched the world in gentle passing tide. The chair beneath me felt like mine, though nothing here was owned. I ordered slowly, tasted time and flavors newly toned. I used to fear the empty space between the next and now, afraid that stillness meant I'd fall or lose what made me proud. But here the pause feels like a gift, a stretch of open sky where thoughts can land without defense and questions simply lie. No one knows my careful roles, the strength I've had to show. I'm only breath and beating pulse and steady undertow. I walk along a narrow bridge above a silver stream. The water keeps a patient pace, reflecting more than dream. The rhythm of my steps aligns with something deep inside, a quieter, more centered tone I don't attempt to hide. I don't have to be impressive or eloquent or wise. I can exist without applause, without strategic disguise. There's beauty in a borrowed view, in seeing fresh and clear how small my daily worries look from slightly farther here. I sit beneath the shaded tree and let the daylight lean across my shoulders, warm and soft, unhurried and serene. I write a few unguarded lines inside a worn notebook, not crafted for a crowd to read, but shaped by how they look. I realize I've been carrying more tension than I knew, expecting every passing day to prove itself as true. Yet life unfolds in subtler ways than lists or measured gain. It lives within the steady breath between the joy and strain. As evening paints the edges gold along the distant dome, I feel no rush to redefine what makes a place feel home. Home is not a fixed address or walls that I return. It's this ability to stand and let the present burn, not blazing fierce or seeking more, but glowing calm and wide, a balanced flame that does not shake with every shifting tide. Tomorrow I may board again and re-enter familiar sound, but something here will travel back a steadier ground. Because in a city unaware of stories that I've known, I found a way to meet myself completely on my I packed a small bag without a reason, folded my thoughts between denim and cotton, left a note that said I'll be back soon, though I didn't know exactly when. The station was humming in gentle motion, suitcases rolling like quiet percussion. No one was asking where I belong, no one expecting me to be strong. I took a seat by the window side, watched the city loosen its stride, buildings shrinking into the haze, like old routines I've outgrown these days. There's something free about moving alone, choosing a path that isn't pre-shown, no schedule carved into stone or air, just open hours waiting there. I don't have to explain my pace or justify the space I take. Every mile feels softly mine, drawn in a steady private line. The rhythm of wheels against the rail keeps a calm and even trail, like brushed to drums under my skin, reminding me where I begin. I wander streets I've never seen, order coffee, sit serene. No familiar voice calls my name, no mirrored role, no practice frame. It's not escape, it's clarity, a gentle claim of autonomy, a quiet promise I renew to live in ways that feel most true. I try out laughter without defense, breathe in unfamiliar sense, notice how my shoulders fall when I don't have to be all. There's music in this subtle shift, in choosing presence as a gift, in letting moments stretch and bend without needing them to define. is unrefined, simple echoes of my mind. The pace of traffic far below blends with footsteps moving slow. Every sound a living proof I'm standing steady on my own roof. I thought I needed someone near to make each landscape feel sincere, but meaning settles just the same when I sign the view in my own name. As evening paints the distant sky, I feel no rush to justify this tender space I've come to claim. These miles that answer to my name. Tomorrow I may board again, return to streets and familiar rain, but something steady will remain, a wider breath within my frame. For now I walk without a role, carrying only what feels whole, and every step both wild and tame writes new ground in my own name. Watch you tying your hair this morning, the same small habit from years ago. Your hands move quicker now than mine, but I still see the child I know. You don't need me to pack your days or smooth the corners of your plans. You've grown into your careful grace with steady heart and capable hands. There were nights I lay awake, wondering how much I should say, how to guide without control, how to let you find your way. I try to give you room to fall without letting you break it all. Try to hold the door half wide so courage could stand at your side. You carry questions in your eyes, bigger than the ones I knew, chasing roads I've never walked, dreaming dreams entirely new. And though I cannot map them out or clear each doubt that comes along, I trust the rhythm in your chest. It's been resilient all along. You don't have to win the race or prove the strength you already own. The quiet way you face the world has always brightly shone. There will be days that test your will, moments sharp and unforeseen, but you were built with patient fire and something beautifully keen. I see it when you speak your mind, not loud but firm and kind. I hear it when you choose your ground, balanced, thoughtful sound. If ever you forget your worth or feel too small to stand, remember how you learned to walk by letting go of my hand. Not because I stepped away, but because you chose to try. Each wobble shaped your steady step, each tear taught you to rise. You are not the sum of praise, nor the weight of passing blame. You are the pulse of your own days, with no one else to claim. When you walk into unknown rooms, hold your shoulders free. There's history in the way you move, a quiet legacy. Not perfection, not design, just love refined by time, carried in the tone you speak, in every hill you climb. And if the path feels steep at times or lonely in the crowd, know that strength can whisper low. It doesn't need to be loud. I won't chase your changing sky or anchor you to mine. I'll stand here steady, proud and still while you draw your line. So go right and fearless, sink across the years you claim. I'll be the voice that softly says you've always been enough the same. And when you walk your chosen way, through joy, through doubt, through change, it's the courage in your name.
Boxes stacked against the wall, names written in black ink. Echo in an empty room gives me space to think. Key still cold inside my hand, the door not fully known. Every sound unfamiliar, but somehow still my own. The hallway smells like fresh paint, footsteps softly fade. Someone laughing 2 floors down in a language slightly strange. Streetlights flicker patiently outside the narrow pane. A city I have never walked, whispering my name. First night on a new street, nothing set in stone. Every shadow holds a story I have yet to own. Not afraid of being new or not knowing the way. There's freedom in the blankness of an unarranged day. The piano moves in gentle chords, careful and aware. Brushes sweeping quiet arcs like dust in the evening air. The bass line hums beneath it, low and unconfined. A steady pulse reminding me I'm not leaving you behind. I place a cup on cardboard, sit cross-legged on the floor. No curtains on the windows, yet no pictures by the doors. The silence isn't empty, it feels wide and awake, like something waiting patiently for the first small step I'll take. First night on a new street, no history to defend. No past mistakes replaying around another bend. Just breathing in the present, letting nerves unwind. There's courage in beginning without a fixed design. It's alright to not have all the answers right now. I think about the mornings that haven't happened yet. Coffee on this windowsill, sunrise I haven't met. Neighbors I will recognize by rhythm of their door. Conversations in the stairwell I've never heard before. There's beauty in the unknown, and maps without a mark. In turning on a single lamp inside a quiet dark. Not everything familiar has to follow through. Sometimes growth is choosing a place that challenges you. First night on a new street, I listen to the rain, soft against the rooftop like it's calling my name. Not warning, not demanding, just steady as it falls. A gentle introduction to these brand new walls. You made it here, that's enough for now. I stretch out on the hardwood with boxes as a frame. The ceiling feels much higher without a past to claim. There's space for different versions of who I might become. Room for quiet confidence in what is yet to come. First night on a new street feels open and alive. Not certain, not completed, but willing to arrive. If tomorrow brings confusion, streets I can't yet read. I walk them slowly, learning at exactly the right speed.
I found it tucked between old pages, a sketch of something I once knew. Lines drawn with impatient hope in shades of fearless blue. I almost didn't recognize the handwriting as mine, so certain in its upward reach, so confident in line. Back then the future felt so wide, like doors without a key. I thought desire alone would build a bridge in front of me, but life arrived with gentle weight. Responsibilities grew, not crushing, just demanding space and asking something new. So I folded up that fragile map and placed it out of sight, not as surrender, not as loss, just hidden from the light. Years moved on in steady turns. I learned a deeper art, how to sustain, how to endure, how to protect my heart. Yet standing here with paper thin between my past and now, I feel that early pulse again, returning somehow. It doesn't rush or shout my name, it doesn't plead or cry. It simply rests beneath my ribs and asks me not to deny. The dream is different than before, less polished, less extreme. It doesn't need a crowded stage or glittering regime. It asks for time carved out each day, for practice without praise, for quiet rooms and honest work in measured faithful ways. I used to crave the outer proof that I was moving fast, but meaning isn't built on speed or shadows that are cast. There's wisdom in a slower climbing, building stone by stone, in choosing growth that roots itself instead of being shown. I trace the outline once again of what I hope to be, and notice how it still aligns with who I've grown to see. The world has changed and so have I, my voice more warm and sure. I no longer chase applause to feel that I endure. Now I create because it's true, because it shapes my air, because there's something in the act that feels like living prayer. The folded paper in my hand is softer at the seam, not worn from failure or regret, but patient with the dream. I smooth it out across the desk, let daylight find its place, and see the line still breathing there with quiet, steady grace. This time I will not hurry it or measure it by fame. I'll build it piece by faithful piece without a borrowed name. If progress comes in subtle waves, I'll meet it without fear. Each small advance enough to prove the calling still sincere. I am not who I was then, but neither is she gone. She lives within my present step, steady and drawn. The dream I folded years ago was never meant to fade. It waited for a fuller heart and hands less unafraid. So I begin without a rush, without dramatic claim, just breath and focus, warm and clear, rewriting its name. Not chasing what I used to be, nor racing toward a claim, but honoring the steady truth that called me just the same. The dream I folded away has never left my side. It rises now in quiet strength, with nothing left to hide.
Found it leaning by the closet, case a little worn. Haven't touched it in a while, since before last spring was born. I flip the latches slowly, hear that quiet click, like something long forgotten, turning slightly quick. There's dust along the surface, settled in the grain. Fingerprints from older days, faint but still remain. I lift it to my shoulder, let the weight align. It fits the way it used to, like it's always been mine. Dust on the strings, but the sound is still there. A little out of tune at first, but willing to repair. No spotlight, no big stage, just lamplight in the room. A simple wooden heartbeat breaking through the gloom. The piano steps aside tonight for a warmer wooden tone. Brushes fade to fingertips on rhythm of my own. The bass line hums imagine.
사용을 종료합니다. 사용을 종료합니다.
Like memory returning to a place it never left. I strike a gentle open chord, let it ring and fade. The note hangs in the quiet, unrushed and unafraid. There's something in the vibration that settles in my spine, like time compressing softly between then and now and mine. I used to write in margins of notebooks on the floor, chasing half-formed melodies through a barely open door. Believing every chorus had to change my name, as if a song unfinished was failure just the same. Dust on the strings doesn't mean it's done. Sometimes silence only waits for fingers to return. Not everything abandoned is truly left behind. Some passions just go quiet till you make the time. Let it ring. Don't rush the chord. Just listen. My fingertips grow tender, pressing down the steel, rediscovering the distance between what's played and real. Each note slightly uncertain, but honest in its tone. No polished exhibition, just resonance alone. There's comfort in the imperfection, in strings that slightly bend, and knowing sound can wander without a tidy end. Not every line must finish in brilliance or acclaim. Sometimes it's enough to feel the echo of your name. Dust on the strings falling as I play, tiny flakes of yesterday drifting far away. And underneath the settling, something steady hums, a quiet affirmation of who I've become. You didn't lose it, you just paused. I closed the case but not for long, lean it by the chair, because tonight reminded me the sound is always there, waiting in the wooden wire, patient as it seems, ready when I'm willing to lift it from my dream. Boarding pass folded in my hand, coffee going lukewarm slow. Announcements in a distant tone, soft echoes through the glow. Runway lights like scattered stars across the waiting glass. Engines humming somewhere far as heavy shadows pass. Most of the seats are half asleep, heads leaning to the side. Backpacks tucked like quiet guards of what we keep inside. Screens flicker in the dim blue light, charging cables snake. Everyone's suspended between the move we'll make. Gate 27 before dawn, nothing yet begun. No wheels lifted from the ground, no rising with the sun. Just breath inside a holding space where time feels stretched and wide. Anticipation resting without a need to hide. The piano moves in open chords, space like empty air. Brushes sweep a subtle beat, almost unaware. The bass line hums beneath it, low and calm and deep, like reassurance traveling through layers of lost sleep. I watch the runway blinking in measured patient lines, thinking of the different roads that shaped these older times. Trips that felt like running, trips that felt like proof, trips that tried to fix a thing that only needed truth. But this one feels much simpler, no drama in the frame, just curiosity unfolding without a need for name. Not leaving something broken, not chasing something bright, just stepping into movement at the edge of night. Gate 27 before dawn feels steady, not extreme, like the quiet page between two chapters of a dream. There's power in the waiting, in not yet taking flight, in knowing change can gather gently in the light. You're ready, even if you don't feel loud about it. A child across the aisle stares out at the wing, tracing fog on window glass in absent-minded ring. A woman scrolls through photos of someone back at home, lives about to separate, yet never fully gone. I close my eyes a moment, let the hum surround, feel the ground beneath my feet, still solid on the ground. Movement hasn't started, but something in me has a widening horizon beyond what came to pass. Gate 27 before dawn, soon they'll call my road. The line will form in quiet and we'll stand up slow. But right now in the almost, before the sky turns pale, I'm grateful for this stillness before the engines sail. Take a breath, you're on your way. The speaker cracks and clears its throat, a final boarding call. I rise without reluctance, not braced against a fall, because departure isn't loss and arrival isn't proof. It's simply forward motion, aligned with deeper truth.
The first drop touched the window before I heard the sound. A silver line across the glass, then another falling down. The sky turned soft and thoughtful, clouds leaning low and near. Not heavy with a warning, but present calm and clear. I didn't close the curtains or hurry from the street. I let the rhythm find me in every cooling beat. Rain against the pavement made the city glow. Streetlights blurring into gold in gentle undertow. I've always loved the way it slows the edges of the day. How conversations soften when thunder's far away. Umbrellas bloom like quiet flowers opening in line. Strangers sharing sidewalks in choreography fine. My hair grows slightly darker, drops resting at my sleeve. The air feels newly honest, with something to believe. There's music in the falling, not rushed and not severe. A brushed and steady pattern that lingers in the ear. You meet me at the corner, laughing at the sky. Neither of us complaining or wishing it would dry. Your jacket smells like rainfall and something warm beneath. You brush a strand behind my ear with easy, steady breath. We walk without a hurry, shoes tapping in time. Puddles catching reflections in shifting silver rhyme. I used to see the rain as pause, a break I didn't choose. But now it feels like breathing room that I don't wanna lose. Cafes glow with amber light, windows fogged in hue. We step inside, the narrow door drops shining off of you. The room is filled with murmurs, spoons against porcelain tone. Outside the rain continues, a rhythm all its own. You reach across the little table, warm fingers on my hand. Not dramatic or possessive, just quietly planned. There's something about rainy days that makes the world feel small. Like all the scattered noise beyond has softened to a call. We talk about the simplest things, plans that may or may not be. Dreams that sound less fragile when spoken gently. The base of water on the roof keeps faithful even pace, while time forgets its urgency inside this small space. When we step back out together, the rain has not yet gone. It wraps the streets in satin like a quiet song. I tilt my face toward the sky, let droplets trace my skin. You smile without instruction and let the moment in. There's brightness in the overcast if you are still enough to notice how the gray can hold a softer kind of love. The rain does not erase the day or wash the color thin. It deepens every outline and lets the light sink in. So when the rain decides to stay, I do not step away. I walk within its steady grace and let it shape the day. The key turns slow inside the lock, a sound both small and near. The door swung wide to empty walls and light I never knew. Boxes line the wooden floor, marked in careful pen. Fragments of a former life waiting to begin again. The air held no familiar scent, no memory in the pain. Just space untouched by history, unwritten and untamed. I stepped across the hollow room, footsteps clear and bright. Every echo answering back in open afternoon light. There's something brave in empty rooms, in walls that haven't heard your laughter or your late night thoughts, or every careful word. I set my coat along the chair, unfolded simple plans, not grand designs of who I'll be, just daily patient spans. The windows faced a different street, trees bending near the glass, cars moving at a softer pace, letting moments pass. I used to think a house was built from walls already worn, from patterns learned and furniture shaped into familiar form. But standing here with nothing placed, no pictures on the wall, I feel a quiet confidence that I can shape it all. The kitchen counter, cool and bare, waits for cups and plates, for morning light and evening talks, for open, easy states. I open boxes one by one, books stacked by the floor, each spine a thread of who I've been, crossing every door. This isn't just relocation or a postal change, it's choosing where my voice will live in rhythm and in range. I place a lamp beside the couch, test the gentle glow. It settles in without demand, soft and low. The floorboards creak beneath my step, like learning how I move, adapting to my presence here, finding steady groove. I hang a coat by the narrow door, slide shoes beneath the stand, little rituals forming in unclaimed land. The walls no longer feel so wide or distant from my name, they lean in closer, as if to say we're ready for your flame, not blazing wild or fierce, but warm and quietly sure. A lived-in kind of brightness, steady and secure. I imagine mornings in this place, coffee near the sink, late nights writing careful lines, with room enough to think. This house will hear my laughter and witness silent tears. It will not judge the days I doubt or measure passing years. It will simply hold the shape of how I choose to be, open in its corners, honest and free. As twilight paints the empty space in amber, soft and slow, I sit against the painted wall and let the stillness grow. Not lonely, not unfinished, but waiting to be claimed. Every room a quiet promise, unlabeled and unnamed. I do not fear the blankness here, or wish for something more. I feel the strength of starting fresh as I close the door, because a home is not the past or what has come before. It's the courage to begin again in rooms with open corners.
The stairwell smells like dust and paint, footsteps soft and slow. Door unlatches with a push, cool air starts to flow. Sudden sky without a frame, stretching wide and dark. City scattered far below, lit in careful sparks. Traffic threads in glowing lines, red and white and streams. Windows stacked like quiet grids, holding private scenes. Sirens somewhere distant, fading into night. Up here everything feels smaller, under open height. Rooftop above the noise, breathing room at last. All the sharp and crowded hours, no longer moving fast. Just wind across the concrete and skyline drawing thin. A broader kind of silence settling within. The piano open, spacious chords clear and widely placed. Brushes tap a gentle swing, unhurried in their pace. The bass line hums beneath it, low and steady deep, like grounding in expansion that the night can keep. I lean against the railing, hands wrapped round the steel, feeling how the metal cool anchors what I feel. Problems that felt towering now look measured small, not erased or vanished, just not so tall. I used to stay down in it, caught in every sound, car horns buzzing messages, footsteps all around. Believing urgency was proof that I was alive, mistaking constant motion for something I must strive. I used to stay down in it, caught in every sound, car horns buzzing messages, footsteps all around. Believing urgency was proof that I was alive, mistaking constant motion for something I must strive. Rooftop above the noise shows a wider view. Lights blink without demanding anything from you. Buildings rise in confidence, but none of them can shout. The sky keeps quiet balance, holding everything out. Step back just a little, see it whole. Clouds drifting in slow formation across the urban globe. Planes crossing distant pathways in arcs both high and low. There's rhythm in the vastness, in breathing without rush, and letting all the inner static settle into hush. I trace the lines of avenues with my eyes alone, imagining the stories behind each lit up home. Everyone inside them carrying their own weight, yet from this height it softens into something less than fate. Rooftop above the noise reminds me how to stand, not smaller, not escaping, just steady where I am. Perspective isn't distance, it's space to understand that I am part of something wider than I planned. Stay here just one more minute. The wind moves through my jacket, city humming low. Eventually I turn back down the stairs I go, carrying that broader view into crowded streets. Rooftop above the noise, still steady in my heartbeat. Locker doors and muted roads, tile cool beneath my feet. Echo of a distant splash, soft and incomplete. Chlorine in the quiet air, sharp but somehow clean. Steam rising from the water, silver blue and serene. I dip a hand before I die. Feel the temperature, not cold enough to hesitate. Just honest, clear and sure. The surface breaks around my arms. Sound dissolves at once. World reduced to breathe and pull and measure. Steady counts, first lane at 6. Water wide and still, no scoreboard on the wall. No race against my will, just stroke and breathe in sequence. Kick and turn in line, a private kind of rhythm where body meets the mind. The piano plays in open tones, clear and lightly spaced. Brushes mimic water drops in gentle brushed embrace. The bass line hums beneath it, low like distant tide. A grounded undertone carried through each glide. Underneath the surface, noise becomes a blur. Conversations fade away into a softened stir. Thoughts that felt insistent lose their sharp demand. They thin between the bubbles and slip right through my hand. I used to swim for speed, counting every lap, chasing numbers on the clock, refusing any gap. But now I move more evenly, not driven by the pace. There's freedom in the absence of something left to chase. First lane at 6, we steady and slow. Each exhale a release of things I let go. Walls approach then disappear in quiet repetition. There's clarity in movement without competition. Just one more length, not to win, but to feel. Light filters through the ceiling in shifting broken beams, dancing on the tiled floor like scattered silver streams. I turn beneath the surface, push off from the wall, feel the glide extend without force at all.